every Sunday is a story day, isn't it? Like, you know,
Yeah,
they tell us these amazing, beautiful stories about life, and they make us kind of, oh, what do you think about that story? Does it make sense to you? And everything like that. But just before we go into that, Jennifer, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself or what you do and everything like that?
Okay, so my name is Jennifer, and I am a mother, a wife, and professionally, I am a social worker.
Right. You one of those social people? Are you one of them ones that people don't like?
Everybody likes me. BJ, you like me.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking, like, you know, are you one of them ones? Like, so you're the good ones then?
Well, all social workers are good. We try to.
Right. Look, that's amazing. Thanks for coming on, Jennifer. I know that you're very, very busy. And your daughter, she sent in a picture of our African Day attire. What's up with that? I mean, she looks amazing.
Thanks, BJ. And she's here with me, and she's going to be listening to the story.
Did you dress her up? Can you put on your video, Jennifer, actually? Do you mind?
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Well, you're all ready to go now, so.
Okay, I need to find out how I can flip the camera around. I'm not very techie. So I'm going to just turn it around. So this is her here. Can you see
her? Hi. How are you?
So she's ready.
You're so pretty. Who dressed you up for the picture? Did you see the picture? Did the mommy show you the picture? Who dressed you up for that? Your mommy? Your mommy's little girl, aren't you? Yeah. Is your mommy going to be telling you a story today? Yeah. Huh? Yeah. What? Yes. Is your mommy going to tell you a story today? Yes. Are you looking forward to the story? Yes. Okay, that's great. By the way, just before we move on, absolutely beautiful, all right? So, Jennifer, what's the story? Is it going to be about a turtle and a dog? We talked about that yesterday.
No, BJ, there are no turtles or dogs or hares in this story. So I'm going to tell the story of an amazing, brave, courageous young woman. She lived a very, very long time ago, in the time of the Gala Kingdom, when we still had kingdoms all over Africa. And her name is Princess Inikpi Oma Ufedoata. And so that's the story I'm going to tell today. She's a legend and quite respected amongst the Gala people of present-day Kogi State.
But Jennifer, do you know what's funny is that we don't hear so much about African stories. We don't hear nothing about African history. Why is that?
Well, I think that, you know, people have kind of, you remember when we were in school those days, BJ, I'm very old. So, you know, those days we used to have a lot of stories. We had stories about, you know, in schools, we read stories about the tortoise and the hare, and they had very good moral lessons. And you mentioned earlier about the Sunday story time. You remember Tales by Moonlight, you know, and there were so many books. There were books like Eze Goes to School. There were children's stories that we read that, you know, talked about our African history and heritage. And it seems that we have lost some of that along the way. There are books, I suppose, we read at the time about African princesses like Queen Amina of Zazzau, and the Ethiopian princess, and the Princess Keziah of Uganda. And we don't hear those stories anymore. And I think that this is something we need to be passing on to our children, because it's part of our heritage, and it's a very significant part of our heritage for that matter. So we need to be telling our children all of these stories, that they had people, legends, courageous men, courageous women, who lived before us and who had contributed immensely to what Africa is today.
I think the big question for you, though, is that why do we not hear them anymore?
Well, it's our responsibility to have them in circulation, to tell them to our children, to have them books promoted. So if it's not you know, if we are not hearing them anymore, then it means that in a way we're not really carrying out our responsibilities as Africans to pass that story on to the next generation.
So it's all our fault. Me, you, everybody, basically. We're to blame for that.
I suppose we need to be doing more to make sure that, you know, our story, the stories about our history, our ancestry is out there for our children. It helps, and, you know, the identity as well, to help them understand who they are and what Africa as a continent is all about.
And I know I'm wrecking your head right now. One more question.
Okay.
When you hear the word Africa, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Oh my God.
And the reason I asked you that, Jennifer, is that we visited the schools in Liege last year. Myself, Sandra, Sia, and I think one or two other people. Okay. You would not believe some of the things the kids say, but I'm not going to give you an info on that. I'm going to let you answer, and I'm going to tell you what the kids said, and then you can go into your story then. Yeah. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear Africa?
When I hear Africa, I remember the smell. As a child, the smell of Africa, I suppose, you know, the smell, the beauty. I remember we used to travel to the villages for Christmas, and oh my God, I look forward to it. The beautiful forest that we would drive past, the green beauty of the terrains, the mountains, the smell of the food, Bolaji, is like nothing you've ever experienced. And I'm sure you know that too. It's not a smell you can easily capture anywhere. It has its unique smell. It has its unique beauty. It has its own unique culture, the people, the way we do things, the way we're excited when we see each other, the way our languages, you know, it's Africa just brings so much. It's home. It's home. It's home, and there's no place like home. If I can.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm going to tell you what some of the kids said, and these are, and I'll tell you now that, of course, you know yourself, when you go to the schools in Ireland, 95% of the kids are Irish.
Yeah.
And I have to say to you now, most of the kids that answer the question are those 95% Irish kids, and they're the first one to raise their hands. What's the first thing you think about when you think about Africa? Oh, the sun, or animals, or it's very hot. Or music, food, color. And I look at myself and I feel so bad. I'm like, I'm meant to be African, but these kids are basically preaching Africa to me in my presence. Do you know what I mean? It's amazing to show that the mind of a child is pure and they're a reflection of everything that we do or they see around us.
Yes.
But meanwhile, that's it. And you have basically said everything that I was meant to say. So fair play to you. The Irish kids I was talking about are a reflection of what you see as well. So basically, the world is a small universe. However, I think I'm going to leave the floor for you. Let us enjoy the story by Jennifer. I'm going to call it Tales by Moonlight. So the floor is yours, Jennifer.
Okay. So I have here with me, I'm going to turn the camera around just so you can see very quickly. I have an audience here who are also going to be listening to the story. We're still, I suppose, going to be, so that's everyone. And so they're going to be here listening to the story. They're all excited. And I appreciate everyone for coming in, for joining us. And I hope you enjoyed the story too. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jennifer. I'm going to wait for you now. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Are we ready, DJ?
We can hear you. Everyone can hear you. I'm just muted myself. That's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much for joining us for this story session. Kids, I know that this week, as part of the Africa celebration, I have told you so many stories, different stories from different nations of Africa, stories of princes, stories of princesses, stories of animals and enchanted forests. today, as a special treat, I am going to tell you a very special story. And like I said earlier on to BJ, this story is a story of the Igala people of Nigeria. And for this special session, I have decided to prepare the delicious drink of the Igala people. It's called Obiolo, and this drink is a drink that's usually prepared for special occasions. So this drink is specially for this celebration of Africa, and I'm just going to take a very quick sip before I carry on. BJ, if that's okay.
4 kids looking at you like, Jennifer, what are you doing, mommy? What about ours?
And, that drink is very special to me. Growing up, my mother used to make that drink every Easter, every Christmas, every Salah, that drink. And we'll share it with neighbors, we shared it with friends. Absolutely delicious. And it's called Obiolo. And so I suppose now we're all settled down, we'll move on to our story. So hold tight, relax, and I will tell you the most wonderful story of a princess. And like the Igala people would usually say, before they start any story, I come ile gwa 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 gwa. Yanoji Nikpi. In a time when great legends and warriors walked the earth, in Africa, there lived a gorgeous, fearless, beautiful, and brave princess. Her name was Inipi, and she was the daughter of the king of the Igala kingdom. The Igala kingdom was nestled in the vast green middle belt area of Nigeria. You will cross the deep flowing rivers of the Niger and Benue rivers, several mysterious forests, busy market days, and lush farmlands of yam, corn, and cassava. The kingdom spanned from the far end and edges of the Yoruba, the Jukun, the Bini, and the Igbo kingdoms. The people of Igala are great farmers and were great warriors. They loved their land and they loved their king. Princess Inipi was the only daughter of Ayeba Oma Idoko, the Ata of Igala. The people referred to Princess Inipi as Oma Ufedo Ata, which simply means Inipi, the beloved of her father. Princess Inipi loved her people. She loved to go to the weekly market and watch the dances in the village square whenever there was a full moon. Sometimes Inipi would join the other maidens to dance in the moonlight. The light from the full moon will catch the glow of her beautiful dark skin and the shine of her hair. During the yearly festivals, Inipi and her maidens were usually the attraction. People will come from other tribes and from all the other kingdoms just to catch a glimpse of this princess whose tale was known across many, many kingdoms. And of course, every young man and prince hoped for nothing else but for the love of the beautiful princess. Now, in those days, there was a brooding war between the Igala people and one of their neighboring kingdoms. The lands were unsafe. The Igala people could not go to their farms for food or to the river for water, for the waters had been poisoned by their enemies. Fear gripped the entire kingdom. They feared that their children were going to die, either from starvation or from lack of water. Now, the Ata of Igala himself was so upset. He was beside himself. He wanted peace and he did not want to lose his kingdom. So he went to the oracle. Now, yes, I like that question. What did the oracle say? The oracle told the Ata that to ensure the safety of the kingdom and victory in the war, the king had to bury his most beloved daughter alive. That was what all the community shouted when they heard this. Now, the news made the king to become very distraught. The king was heartbroken. For days, he could not eat, he could not drink. He hoped that the oracle would change its mind. The princess noticed how sad her father had become and wondered why he was refusing to eat his meals. But the king refused to tell his beloved daughter the reason for his upset. He held off for 7 days, hoping that the high priest of the oracle will come back with another alternative. Unfortunately, by the 8th day, when there was no alternative, the king had no choice but to tell Princess Inipi the reason for his sadness. Now, Princess Inipi broke down in tears before her father. They both clung to each other. Surely there must be another way. Princess Inipi knew how much her father loved his people and how much he loved the kingdom. Princess Inipi could not bear the thought of the Igala kingdom being destroyed by their enemy, but she also loved her people so. Suddenly, the princess could bear it no longer. She could not bear her father being so upset. She could not bear the fear amongst the people in the kingdom. She could not bear the uncertainty of their future. She knew that her father would object and try to stop her, so she had to make a quick decision. Inipi got up very quickly. She went away and on her own began to prepare for the rites for the sacrifice. She set off with 9 slaves to the bank of the river Niger at Ida. And Princess Inipi, very sadly and very tragically, was buried alive, with 9 slaves who would help her in her journey into the afterlife. Legend has it that when the enemies came to the Igala kingdom to fight the war, they saw burning flames of fire. The fire rose up to the top of the village. It surrounded the entire kingdom. And so the enemies ran away. They were so afraid, they ran back to their kingdoms. They were so afraid because they thought that indeed the village of the Igala kingdom and the entire Igala kingdom was on fire. And they thought that when they go in to fight the war, they themselves were going to be engulfed and burnt up by the fire. So they ran, and they ran away to their kingdoms. Legend believes that the sacrifice of Princess Inipi protected the kingdom and kept the enemies away and kept the people of the Igala kingdom free from war and safe from their enemies for hundreds of years. Inipi is a true legend. She's a true princess, a true tale of courage, of bravery. Today, Inipi statue takes pride of place in Ida, in present-day Kogi state of Nigeria. So that is the end of the story of Princess Inipi. Now, thank you for celebrating this year's anniversary. Don't forget, like Princess Inipi, be bold, be brave, be proud to be a great people and be proud of the great continent of Africa. DJ, that is the end of our story. Hello, DJ. Hello, BJ.
Hello. Jennifer. Hi. Yes. Ridiculous. You know when they say something ridiculously amazing? Like you basically, I was listening to that story and I'm like, so I remember growing up, right? Yeah. And every Sunday, my grandmother would sit down on that chair and I would sit down around the chair like that with my mates.
Yeah.
And they would tell us the story. And I think the amazing thing about the story, sorry, there's a music playing. Is anybody playing music? Sorry, please, 1 second. And the amazing thing about the story was the fact that after the story, they'd asked us, what did you learn of that story? Did you learn to be smart? Did you learn to be greedy or something like that? Like, well, I feel like I've been schooled all over again.
I think, BJ, what we can take away from this story is the fact that Inikpi's sacrificial love for her people. You know, she knew that if she didn't do what she needed to do, the entire kingdom was going to be lost. People were going to die, women, children, fathers, they were going to lose their farmlands. So Inikpi's story, even though quite tragic, is a story of bravery, it's a story of courage, yes. And it's a story of sacrifice. And I suppose that's what we need to take away from that story. Should we, I suppose, for the good of the entire kingdom, she decided to sacrifice herself, her own self. So I suppose for us, that is the moral of the story. Do we think about the good for ourselves, or do we think about the good for everyone?
But you know, you mentioned the word sacrifice. It's an overused word these days.
Well, I suppose
when you say sacrifice, okay, a lot of people don't know what it means. Now, for me personally, at times as a leader or as someone that cares about the future of his own people, you sacrifice your own integrity for the longer gain.
Yes, correct, absolutely.
And I think this is one of the things that we're missing in the African community, basically, generally. What do you think about that? What would you like to expatiate about that?
So it's sacrificing for our time, our talents, our skills, you know, for the good of the community. It's not only restricted to, you know, the African community in Liege, but the entire community. Ireland is now a multicultural state, and in Liege, we have a lot of diversity. We have a lot of different cultures. So it's using those talents, those skills, and the knowledge that we have to bring everyone together. And it's not any different from what you're doing, BJ, at the moment. You're sacrificing your time, you're sacrificing, you know, there's so much that has gone into this year's celebration of Africa Day, and sacrifices has been made just so we can have a good and beautiful celebration of Africa. So that
I don't know about me sacrificing myself. I think that what I do most of the time is that people think, oh, BJ done this. BJ didn't do it. I got you, Jennifer, come on. And Tony, come on. Sonia, come on. Vanessa, come on. You know, everybody, come on. Let's do this.
It's a collective sacrifice. People are sacrificing their time. People are sacrificing their skills. People are knowledge. Arlene came up earlier on. She talked about culture. You know, it was so insightful. You know, people are sharing their music, their skill of dance, you know, so it's a collective sacrifice just to ensure that, you know, everyone enjoys this special occasion, and it's for the good of the entire community. Because believe it or not, we are projecting the history of Africa to not only our children, but to the entire community of Liege and to the state of Ireland. It's an opportunity for us to showcase what Africa is and the, I suppose, rich culture and beauty that we have in Africa.
Okay, so you talked about a tea that you would take, because your grandmother will take you when she tells you these stories, and somebody has a question for you.
Okay.
What is used to make this Igala tea, or is that Igala drink or something? What is in it?
Okay, so Obiolo is simply, okay, so people might not recognize the word Obiolo, but I'm sure a lot of people will recognize Kunu. We know Kununzaki, Kununtamia.
Yes, I do.
Kunu Yeda. Yes, so Obiolo is the Igala version of Kunu. You can use corn, you can use millet, you can use guinea corn, and it's guinea corn combined with sweet potato and spices of ginger, of cloves, and it is made like pap, but it's not pap, it's much more watery than pap, and it's a beautiful drink. You can add sugar to it. If you've tasted Kunu before, then that is exactly what Obiolo is.
So when you go dressed like this, actually, just out of curiosity, are your kids looking at you like, Mom, you look weird? What's wrong with you?
Well, no, they've seen this numerous times, and whenever we go whenever we go home to Nigeria, we try to bring them home to the village, and they see that this is the culture of how our women dress in Igala land. So it's very much like you know, we are from the Middle Belt, but again, we've been really influenced by Northern Nigeria, our culture. So we dress like the women of Northern Nigeria. So usually we will cover ourselves like this with a veil. For married women back home, that they might cover head that way, you know, that is the culture of the Igala people. This is how our women will dress. The veil is very significant for us. It helps our modesty, if I can put it that way. So this is how we dress. My kids, they have veils as well, have their traditional clothing, and whenever we go home, they always use that opportunity to dress, to put on their Igala attire. And you saw my little girl, the way she was dressed, that would be the way, like, you know, when we have cultural festivals, that would be the way our young girls would dress the chair. So our beads are very important to us. We have our beads, we have our cowries, you know, we use them to decorate ourselves. And I suppose, especially during our weddings, they are absolutely fabulous. The colors, the jewelry, the clothing. We have our own version of Ashoke. Yoruba people call it Ashoke. We call it Ashi.
Okay.
It is very significant colors that mean a lot. I really don't know what those colors mean, but you know, those are the colors of the African people, of the Igala people on their ashi. So we use that as a head scarf. We wrap.
So Jennifer, I'm actually going to go a bit deeper if you don't mind.
Okay.
There's a general belief that the people from the northern part of Africa, or even northern part of Nigeria itself, are not really interested in education. So basically, like, you know, if you belong to the Muslim community and stuff like that, education is never a priority. You're well educated. You're well, you know, westernized, not just westernized, but of course, like mental education and awareness. Is there a different? Did you go through a different route, or is this meant to be?
I think there's a general misconception. The Northerners in Nigeria, in education, we have, and I suppose, just to put it into context, we need to differentiate between, and I don't want to get into religion and politics, you know, but a lot of Northerners are educated, and we have colleges, universities in Northern Nigeria. People go to school, believe it or not. We have doctors, we have professors, we have medical doctors, we have consultants. As a matter of fact, the most recent, I don't know if he still is, but the registrar of the West African, the director of the medical consultants of West Africa is a Northerner from Connaught. So we have a lot of Northerners who believe in education and are doing very well in the education field. We have Northerners here in Ireland. If you go to hospitals who are medical doctors, we have a few of them in Portlaoise. So I think it's a misconception. Yes, we have a particular percentage of Northern youth who have not really benefited from Western education. But I think that if you look all across Africa, the level of illiteracy, I think, will be balanced to an extent. It's not only limited to Northern Nigeria.
So, of course, the perception is wrong. And I'm glad you clarified that, because I always grew up and I'm like, my grandparents are from the northern part of Africa. Would you believe that? Like the other part of Nigeria itself, like, so basically would have family homes in like Kaduna and stuff like that. And I've never been there. But the only thing I know is that, you know, they live in a different world and everything like that. But look, you're a different example to that. You just changed my perception about that. And like somebody said, I think, no, Aline said the more we get to know each other, the more we realize that we're all the same at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We're all human. We all have one way or the other the same practice. However, as much as we might look a bit different, we might speak a bit of a different language, we're all the same. And that's what is important.
Yes, definitely, BJ, definitely. And I think that in as much as, we cannot, not identify that there's a few struggles in Africa, and it's not only, I suppose, restricted to certain countries, it's right across the continent. And I suppose it's from, things like this that we can use to promote Africa, promote the need for education for Africans, and to try to, I suppose, eliminate that bad image and that bad perception, because Africa is great, Africa is dynamic, and Africa is such a beautiful continent, and I'm really proud to be African.
I am proud as well. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Jennifer, one more last question before we go. I know that after every Tales by Moonlight, there's a question.
Yes.
Now, I know one of them guys that you told the story there, sitting right there, I've got a question for you. Can you get one of them to ask you a question, and will you be able to answer one of them?
Okay, do you know what? They've all run away, but I'm going to call them back. Okay, do any of you have a question for me about the story? You know what, BJ, I think that when I was doing the test run with them and I read the story, they were absolutely gobsmacked. When we got to the end, they were hoping that, it will have a different ending. But unfortunately, I have no way of changing the ending of that story. That's the way.
No, there's no way to change that. No.
So I think that they were in shock, first of all, because they didn't think that something like that was ever possible. But look, I suppose it's the reality of how they lived at the time. And even, I suppose, explaining to them what an oracle was. They didn't know what an oracle was. So I had to explain to them what an oracle was, and how at that time, in those centuries, years and years ago, people relied on the oracle, and whatever the oracle said was final.
Do you know that I used to be afraid of the oracle? When I was growing up and I hear the word oracle, the first thing that comes to my mind is they say something and it happens. Get me away from here. I don't want to be here.
Yeah. But thank God, with education and all of that, people are moving away. I think majority have moved away now from such consultations. There's still a significant part of our heritage and our culture. But I think that, people have kind of moved away now a little bit from relying on the oracle to have the final say. And a lot of it boils down to religion as well. People's beliefs have changed.
Okay, that's beautiful. Again, moving away from it, I don't know if we should move away from it or not. It's part of who we are. It's part of what's defined us. We should stick to it. And we should encourage the kids to be with it. My neighbors in Ireland are the most amazing people I've ever met in my life. The Nelsons and the Crooks. Janine Crooks and her husband and the kids. And Sue Nelson and her husband and the kids. I feel terrible now, because I feel like I haven't actually impacted in their life the way they've impacted in my life. Every time we've hung out, I've been in their house or they've been in my house, I've learned one bit of an Irish. I know almost all the Irish songs. I know almost all the Irish St. Patrick stories and everything. And I feel like I have not taught them anything about African, and I'm so ashamed of myself. So that's going to be my next project. I am going to teach my neighbor. Well, I have to say to you, I've taught them how to eat pounded yam.
Oh, brilliant. Very good.
And Sue, I actually have a video of Sue eating pounded yam with her hands. So yeah. That's a big deal for me.
We've taught some of our friends, our Irish friends, to eat pounded yam as well. And what they absolutely love is the jollof rice. It's, plantain.
Why does everybody love jollof rice? Why does everybody love jollof rice?
Everybody loves jollof rice. Yeah. So slowly but surely, we're showing them our culture. We're showing them what Africa is, our food, our music. I was listening to Toby earlier on. Well done again. And, people are beginning to see, the true uniqueness of Africa and Africans.
Perfect. Amazing. Jennifer, you're amazing. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, PJ.
Today is no different. Thank you so much. Even the way you sat with the kids, you brought me back memory lane. And I was like, that is class. I respect that. And, you know, I'll forever be grateful. And I'm going to do that with my kids going forward. I'm going to get them sit down, listen to Tales by Moonlight.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
I think everyone
have a very happy Africa Day.
Yeah, happy Africa Day, everyone. Happy
everyone,
Africa Day.
And we really appreciate the time you spent with us. If you have any questions, please get in touch with us. We'll be happy to answer. You can visit our website, www.leashafrica.com. Jennifer is an admirable member of our group. We have the likes of, so basically we have Sierra, we have Sandra, we have Samson, we have Nathan. Nathan is from South Africa. Sierra is from Liberia. Sandra is from Nigeria. We have Aline from Cameroon. We have Aline's husband, of course, from Cameroon as well. We have Irene. Irene is a Nigerian. Irene actually hosts the dinner event in December to celebrate how much work we've done over the years in terms of coming up to December. Like, we have amazing people. We have Samson Osuma. Samson is an amazing part of the community as well. He's worked with most of the community, and most of the things Samson has done is community-based as well. So he does this thing without even charging any money for it as well. So again, it's appreciating people like this. We have DJ Matt coming up in a couple of minutes. So I'd like to say thank you so much. Happy Africa Day. The weather is African today. The weather went home.
Absolutely.
So enjoy the rest of the day. We'll be bringing you once DJ Matt comes up. So thanks so much, Jennifer. It's nice talking to you. So
thanks, PJ. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Happy Africa Day. Bye.
Happy Africa Day to you.
Bye.